Welcome to Industrial Applications, Level 2. This is working with branches, the final one in the series, Part 7, Exclusivity. I want to demonstrate another function that you can use branching for. On the top rung, we see that we have basically 4 different possibilities that's going to turn on the direct coil called oven warm up, and that is a internal coil. It's not assigned to an actual output, so that might be used for a different part of our process. But we can also use the OR condition or nesting and branching. We can use that to make an exclusively OR. So what I'm going to do, just to demonstrate this, I'm going to create a variable. But I'm going to behave, it's going to behave a little bit differently. So I'm going to call it choice, just because that's what we're dealing with at the moment. And I'm going to not make it a bool. Now this is only within the scope of this particular program called future. And I'm going to make that an int. So up at the top it says it's disappeared. I haven't done anything. But up here, this is our filter in our variable selector, and you can pick what you're looking for to get rid of all the stuff you don't want. Since I started from a contact that is a single bit, by default it's going to show me the data type bool. But I can say, no, I don't want to do that. I want to see whatever's there. So here I have choice. I've created as an int. You can't put 16 contacts into a single bool. It doesn't fit. As I like to say, you can't put a Mack truck into an orange. So, okay, why did I do this? Well, I want to draw your attention over here to this little arrow on the side. And if I click on it, you will see that this int actually has 16 bits. Now normally with an int, we're looking at it as a numerical value, but you can use an int and break it down into its components and select the individual components. So what I've just done is I've created a variable called choice, but it actually gives me 16 different choices. Now there are limitations to this. I can't individually name these with an alias. It's still going to be called choice. And I want to draw your attention to the little period between the variable name and its bit. A period in the PL and PLCs with Allen Bradley, the period is a delineator. What that means is it separates the different parts of a construct. So in this particular case, we're separating the int called choice into its individual components, which happens to be bits. So I'm going to hit choice 0 and I'm going to go OK. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it 1 because we think in terms of 1, not 0, but we're going to do that. So there's choice 1. Now I can just go choice. It appears when you see it and you've got it highlighted, press the right pointing arrow and it goes right to the end. Hit the period button and then you can type in the next choice you want. Oops. Or if while you're typing, just keep typing. So I'm going to have only 3 choices, 1, 2, and 3. But I only have these set up in 2, so in order for me to make this a completely exclusively OR, I'm going to need add contacts. So I'm just going to do that. And to make this exclusively OR, if they select choice 1, I don't want them to be able to select choice 2. I also don't want them to be able to choose choice 3. So only choice 1 will make this true. And then I'm going to turn around and say, do the same thing again. I'm just going to name this choice 1, choice 2, choice 3, and I'm a lazy person, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these other two, delete, highlight, Control C, Control V. Oh, that was very interesting. I've never seen it do that before. Interesting. Learning has occurred. Gotta watch where you point that thing. Okay, so if choice 1 is made and the other two are not, then it's going to be choice 1. If choice 1 is not made and choice 2 is selected, then choice 3 is not, then it's going to be exclusively choice 2. And if choice 1's not made and choice 2's not made and only choice 3 is selected, then I have choice 3. So now, if I wanted to, I might be able to drop that into here and go choice 1. Now you may ask yourself, well, that's kind of silly. Why'd you do all this work? And all he's got are these coils that don't do anything, they don't turn anything on. Well, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Not choice S, choice 3. There we go. So now I've created one master control, turns it on. There'll probably be something in here saying if I'm on automatic and I press the enable button, it's going to examine these 3 bits and it's going to say, well, definitely it's choice 1. And I've made it mutually exclusive. You cannot, by some way, have more than one of those 3 choices. That's it. That's using a branch to do a mutually exclusive ORing. So this here, I can create an entirely different rung of logic, just like I did for this particular choice. I can do set up an entirely different set of rung. I can rename these, and somewhere in my program, the conditions that says I'm allowed choice 1 might be if it was, say, a bakery. Okay, so I'm making white bread. So when I make white bread, that's choice 1. But the conditions for making that white bread is a certain amount of white flour, a certain baking time, a certain amount of shortening, a certain amount of oven temperature, and all the rest of it. So there's a whole bunch of different conditions that will determine setting up choice 1. So when I set choice 1, that's going to turn that bit on, and that will call up that entire process that we call choice 1. And choice 1 says I'm making white bread, and this is how much white flour I need, this is how much sugar I need, this is how much milk I need so many eggs to do a batch run of white bread. And choice 2 could be rye bread, and choice 3 might be pumpernickel. I can have an endless amount as long as I keep adding these not conditions. It prevents somebody from accidentally pressing it and starting it and having a half white and half pumpernickel or some confusing state. So this is called using a branch for exclusivity. It's another way of doing interlocking to prevent someone from making an accidental mistake on a selection.